Okay, so let's do a little restorative practice that's just going to help to kind of just give us a little boost of relaxation, which helps the immune system no end. So just come onto your mat and have a bolster underneath your knees and underneath your feet, a couple of blocks underneath your feet, and then a blanket, a folded blanket for your head. Have a blanket to cover yourself over with if you need it. Just find yourself some comfort on the floor. So spend a few moments just to get yourself ready. So it's nice to, I'm just going to put a blanket over me just because it's put the heater on, but it's still a bit chilly. If you can cover your eyes with something, then do. There's not a lot to see in terms of demonstration, but there's plenty to do in terms of letting the body go. But if you can create some darkness, then your body will relax more easily. Just allow yourself to release into the floor. Listen to the breath as it enters and exits. Give yourself permission to relax. Give yourself permission to just commit to the next 50 or so minutes of relaxation, quietness. So listen to your breath. Soften the jaw. So lower your lower teeth away from the upper teeth. Soften the tongue and in the throat. Just allowing yourself to release into the floor. Just taking deep inhalations and deep exhalations. Just consciously release the muscles of the arms and the legs, allowing the body to surrender into the straight line of the floor. Feeling the bolsters underneath your knees, softening out the spine. Feeling that your legs are supported by the blocks. Just keeping the jaw and the tongue and the throat soft. Noticing that when you soften your jaw, when you soften your tongue, you also soften around the forehead, soften around the eyeballs. So allow your eyes to become soft in the sockets. Draw your attention into the soles of your feet. So that the soles of the feet tingle with gentle awareness. And then consciously soften the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bones. Relaxing the sole of the foot. Draw your attention to the top of the foot so that the skin becomes almost tingly with consciousness. And then soften the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bone of the top of the foot. Relaxing into the bones. Draw your attention into the shins. Drawing your attention into the skin and the muscle so that the skin becomes tingly with awareness. And allow the fronts of the shins to sink into the calf muscle, the bone sinking into the muscle, allowing the shins to completely relax. And then soften the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bones of the shins, letting the shins become heavy. Drawing your attention into your knees, softening around the kneecap, allowing the kneecap to sink into the socket. Draw your attention into your thighs, feeling the skin come to life as you draw your mental focus towards the thighs, and and soften the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bone, allowing the fronts of the thighs to sink into the backs of the thighs. So your legs become heavy. Draw your attention into the pelvis and the abdomen. And relax the skin and the muscle and the flesh and the bones. And then consciously relaxing the abdomen and the pelvis, just allowing it to sink into the floor. And then relaxing the abdomen and the pelvis, just sinking into the floor. Draw your attention into the chest cavity, and the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bones. Just being conscious of the expansion of the chest with the inhalation and the contraction of the chest with the out breath. And then allow the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bones of the chest to release into the floor. Draw your attention into your arms, to your upper arms and your lower arms, and the hands and the palms. And then release the shoulder muscles so that the arms become heavy on the floor. Consciously relaxing the arms into the floor. And then completely relax your arms so that they just land heavily into the floor. Draw your attention into your neck and the skull and the area around your forehead, and your nostrils and your jaw. Just allowing each to consciously relax, so that in one breath the body becomes heavy, and in another that releases our energy. That relaxation releases our energy and allows the energy to distribute evenly throughout the body, rising to the top of the skin. Just allowing the skin around the skull to soften, releasing in the inner ear, allowing the brain cells to move from the front of the brain down towards the base of your skull. So as we progress into the practice, I'll speak less and less so that you can spend the time relaxing rather than listening. Okay, when you're ready to gently disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes and wiggle your fingers. And then bend your knees. Just rest your feet on the bolster for a moment. Have the knees together and the feet apart. Just resting into the floor, feeling the support in your spine. And then gently roll over onto your right side. And then stretch out the top leg and just come up into seated position. Being cross legs for a moment or two, just feel how your energy has changed a little. And then just open your eyes and then get your blanket, unfold the blanket so it's like a long, like a quarter fold like this, and then just fold it down the middle so you've got kind of a narrow, quite thick fold. So this is going to go underneath our shoulder blades. So you don't need the blocks for underneath your feet, but we're just going to go along the bolster as we did before, and then you can come down onto your back. The folded blanket is just in your shoulder blade region, and then you just let your arms rest over your head like this, so the armpits are wide open. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, put some blocks underneath your hands so your arms aren't going down all the way to the floor. But just make sure that the folded blanket is in the shoulder blade region. So this mountain brook pose just gives us a little opening in the front of the chest. So open the chest, which is good for deep inhalations, deep exhalations. So don't overwork the breath, but just allow the breath to be deep. Opening the armpit region is beneficial for the immune system. So soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. So it feels surprisingly strong in the shoulders. So don't suffer discomfort. Give yourself lift underneath your hands if you need to. Otherwise, just use the floor. Just use the shape of the body, shape of the floor to give space in the front chest. So we've got the folded blanket underneath the shoulder blade region, got the bolster underneath the knees, and just have your arms stretching just gently over your head along the floor. Just taking the opportunity to take deep inhalations, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, filling both lungs evenly, feeling the chest rising upwards and outwards with the inhalation and allowing the chest to relax with the out breath. And then just very gently bring your arms back to the sides of the body. Just maybe rest your hands on your lower ribs for a moment. And draw your feet onto the bolster, just resting your back into the floor. And then roll up into a seated position, just coming back into cross legs for a moment. And just observing the energy around the shoulders and around the neck. Good positive energy. Comes through opening and supporting the shoulder blade region. Okay, so we're just going to come down, have the bolster for our back. So just have the bolster for your back. If you've got some extra blocks, you can put your bolster on a bit of a ramp. So have one block kind of long ways like that, and then another on a height like that, and then you get this little ramp. Doesn't matter if you can't make the ramp, then just flat along the floor is absolutely fine as well. And then we're just gonna come up to the bolster, bringing the feet into this butterfly Baddha Konasana shape, and then just guide yourself along bolster. If your head feels like it rolls back, then put a blanket underneath the head. If you've got a blanket spare, then get your blanket and unfold it so it's like a long, thin blanket like this. Just fold it down the middle like that, and then put the blanket around the fronts of your shins, and then pull the ends of the blanket in so that it supports your hips and it will keep you in place. And then just guide yourself down along your bolster again. So this just helps to broaden out the chest. It will help to just clear the chest for respiratory issues. So relaxing back on the bolster. Just feeling how the front of the chest is open and that the diaphragm is free to move. So we can just relax into the bolster. And softening the jaw and the tongue and the throat. So just accompany this reclining pose with a focus on just normal in breaths and normal out breaths, but observing the expansion and contraction of the chest as you inhale and exhale. Focusing on inhaling evenly into both lungs, exhaling evenly from both lungs. Just observing the sounds of the breath. And then very gently draw your knees together and then just push yourself up into a seated position. Just move the blanket and then just sit up in cross legs for a moment. Just observe how your energy changes, even though the poses are really gentle. There's a definite intensity of energy that results through stay in the pose. So we're going to stay with our lifted bolster, and then we're going to use a second bolster. If you don't have a second bolster, just use some cushions. So a second bolster is going to go underneath your knees. The other bolster is going to stay where it is. And you stretch your legs out with the bolster underneath your knees, and then just guide yourself back down onto the mat. So it's the fish pose, the Matsyendrasana, the restorative Matsyendrasana. So if you want to, you can put blocks underneath your feet or just keep them directly on the floor. Just bring yourself into the pose. Now, if this kind of gives you discomfort in your back, just adjust a little so that your back feels better supported by the bolster. So some lift underneath your knees if you can. The legs are outstretched. So this gives you a feeling of weightlessness to a degree. Just observe how the legs feel weightless. How the chest feels weightless. So we enjoy that feeling of energetic and positive lightness of being. Feel the broadness around the diaphragm. Just let go in the shoulders. Try not to hold the pose physically. So these poses, this sequence has worked to open up the shoulders, opening up the chest to aid Deep breathing, deep relaxation. Okay, just wiggle your toes and then bring yourself up into a seated position, and then keep your bolster underneath your knees. Just go back into our basic relaxation pose. So a folded blanket underneath your head and a bolster underneath your knees, and then a couple of blocks for your feet, and then just come back into your reclining position. Just guiding yourself down onto the floor. Now allowing yourself to just completely release into the straight line of the floor, but feeling how there's energy around your chest, around your arms, around your head. And then just allow yourself to just completely let go. Close your eyes if you haven't done. And use your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of lightness from around the chest and down into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, and the top of the head. With each exhalation, allow yourself to release into the floor a little more, just letting go of any tensions that you may be holding on to, allowing those tensions to drift away with the out breath. Just basking in that feeling of positive energy comes from our gentle poses and our focus on the breath. And then when you're ready, just gently wriggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And then bend your knees, draw your knees in towards your chest. So a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side, just a gentle massage on your spine. And then roll onto your right side, just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Your hands in the Namaste, just a final spinal lift, drawing your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that our gentle poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then very gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then radiate some of that positive energy out into the world. And release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. So, thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully you feel as though you've just lifted your energy and you've given yourself some good energy for the rest of your evening. So, thank you very much for joining me.